Okay, so this one's a very, very good one. Very, very funny one. And a story time I've been waiting to tell for years now. And I think it's finally about time. I don't really know why I waited so long. I have a lot of stories like that. I just hold on to them because I think that they're some of my best. And I just like am holding on to them to the very last possible moment to tell them. But honestly, that's stupid because there's never going to be a last possible moment. I'll probably tell stories on here till the day I fucking croak, whether they be really, really crazy or really, really not crazy at all. I mean, hopefully there's always interesting stuff happening to me because if there's not, then my stories will probably end up being titled stuff like, I got a cappuccino today, parentheses, insane. Nah, I'm just fucking around, but I have this crazy story today. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do, and let's get into it. So today's story time all takes place a couple of years ago, okay? So kind of recent. I mean, it's definitely not as old as some of the stories I've been telling recently. And I remember it was around Christmas time. This is kind of why I want to tell this today, because it was, around this time a couple of years ago. It was like a week or two before Christmas. And what my family does every year for Christmas is we have Christmas at my mom's house, then we have Christmas at my dad's house, because we have two separate families, essentially. So anyway, the story time all starts off as a regular day. It was the day where I was going to be going to see my dad's side of my family to have Christmas dinner. And I was pretty excited because I hadn't seen my dad's side of the family in a minute. I was going to get to hang out with my dad. Hadn't seen him in like a week or two, so it was going to be cool, right? I was excited. So fast forward to around dinner time. This was the time I was going to my dad's house to have dinner. And I got there a lot earlier than I thought I was gonna. I'm usually the one that's late to family events or just events in general. I'm not very good at being to things on time, as you guys can tell by my upload schedule. Yeah, I ended up getting there really fucking early. Dinner was at like 5:30, 5:45. I got to his house at like 4:30. Don't ask why I was so early. I just, for some reason, felt like being early that day. I don't really know why. But yeah, I got to my dad's house. I walked in. It was just me and him. I was the first one there. And he was just finishing up some sides. He was making some of the sides for dinner. And when I walked in, he was extremely happy to see me. A little bit too happy. Like, he was fucking geeking, like all smiley and giggly and like real happy to see me. And I thought that was kind of odd. Now, I'm not saying that every time I saw my dad prior to this, he would look at me with like the most dead stare ever and just like fucking hate me. He usually smiled and was happy to see me. But there was just something different about the smile he had on this night. He seemed extra happy for some reason I couldn't put my finger on, right? Well, anyway, after me and him said hello to each other and I was so early, I decided to go into the kitchen and help him finish up the cooking for the sides for dinner. And, just help him out, right? Well, I'm helping him out. And as I'm helping him, I realized he can't get shit done correctly. Like, for example, it was time to season the potatoes. We had some potatoes on the side, and they needed seasoning. And the book that he was reading this recipe out of literally said, like, a pinch of whatever the fuck it was. I think it was salt. And this man picks up, like, a handful of this shit. And I was like, no, that's way too much. Put it down. And he's like, no, it's a pinch. I'm like, that's not a pinch. Put it down. So then I did it, and I got it correct. And then he starts grabbing the other seasonings that weren't even in the book. Like, he's picking up random spices and shit that do not need to go on potatoes. Okay, I'm not trying to have a Drake and Josh episode here. Like the dad, he got dosed with cumin and starts having an allergic reaction. I'm not trying to have that shit happen to the family. So I was like, Dad, just chill out. I'll handle the seasoning, okay? Like, relax. Well, fast forward like 5 minutes later, okay? He goes to take this plate of, I don't even know what it was, out of the oven. And it's early. There was still like 8 minutes on the oven timer. And I was like, Dad, they're not ready yet. He's like, yeah, it says 0. It's done. I'm like, no, that says 8. He's like, no, that says 0. I'm like, no, that says 8. Because if it said 0, it would be beeping. He's like, oh, okay. And then he just like steps back and just like stares into nothingness. Like just eternal nothing. And I was like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to go lay down for a second. I was like, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And he walks away. So I was left to kind of finish up the preparation for the sides. And I did. I got that done in like 5-10 minutes. And this whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking like, what is wrong with my dad? Like, he seemed odd. Now, don't get me wrong. My dad smoked here and there. He smoked a little bit of weed. So I thought, maybe he's just a little bit too high. Maybe he smoked a little bit before, the family came over. And now he's a little too high. But even being too high, I feel like you're not misinterpreting things on cookbooks and misinterpreting numbers. Like, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. But you know what? I didn't really think much about it. I just figured he was either having a little bit of anxiety from being too high, or he was just tired or something. He was laying down before the family got there. So I let it be. Well, fast forward to about, 15 minutes later, the family starts to arrive. My brothers got there. My cousin also got there. And I decided to walk into my dad's room and let him know that they were there. And this dude is on the bed in, like, fetal position, looking terrified. And I was like, hey, people are here. You want to come say hi? He's like, yeah, just give me a minute. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm having a little bit of a bad time right now. And I was like, what did you do? Did you smoke or something? Like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I smoked a little bit too much. And I was like, okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, all right, understandable. I've been there before. I was like, well, do you need any water or anything? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I go into the kitchen. I grab some water. My cousin sees me. He's like, what's going on? Where's your dad? I'm like, he's in the room. He got a little too high before dinner. And everyone starts laughing because, I don't know, they just didn't expect that. And I went back into my dad's room with the glass of water. And he's looking out the window, looking super paranoid now. Like, he's off the bed. He's staring out the window. And I was like, Dad, the fuck is it now? What's going on? He's like, did you hear that outside? I was like, hear what? He's like, you didn't just hear that loud bang? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? He's like, there was just like a huge bang outside. Like, it sounded like an explosion. I was like, I don't think there was. Like, there's no music playing. Like, I would have heard it. You know, it's like pretty quiet in here and out in the hallway. I probably would have heard it. He's like, no, I'm telling you, there was something. And I was like, all right, well, maybe there was. I don't see anything out there. He's like, yeah, I don't either. I'm like, okay. And he comes back down to the bed. He sits down. I give him the water. He starts sipping it. And I was like, how much did you smoke? He's like 2 joints. I'm like, that shouldn't be doing this to you. I feel like you've smoked more than that and been fine. He's like, all right, I gotta be honest. Something else happened. I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. What happened here? He's like, I may have, not just smoked. And now I'm really interested. I'm like, what does that mean, Dad? He's like, I ate a couple, what. I'm like, I don't know what. Chicken tenders, fucking Oreos, mozzarella sticks, like, fuck you talking about? He's like, come on, you know what I'm talking about. And honestly, like, I know when I'm telling this story, it might seem obvious what he was hinting at, but I didn't get it. I genuinely didn't know what he was talking about because I had never seen him do shrooms or talk about them, so I really didn't think he was talking about shrooms. So I just responded again. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Did you eat something you're allergic to and now you're having like a bad reaction? He's like, no, mushrooms. And immediately my face just like lit up and I was like, no fucking way. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what? When did you start doing that? He's like, I've always kind of microdosed. I was trying to have a little microdose today, lift the mood a bit. I overdid it. And I was like, wait a minute. You just said you ate a couple. What's a couple? He's like, I don't know, like a handful, some more. I don't know. I'm like, do you know what a couple means? Dad, it means fucking 2. If you ate 2 of these things, I don't think you'd be having this reaction. And he's like, yeah, I don't know how many I ate. And I was like, all right, lay down. I'll take care of dinner. Come out whenever you're ready, okay? Holler if you need something. I'm going to be in there entertaining the family because they're kind of, showing up now. He's like, all right. So I went to the living room. I said hi to all the family that was there. I start preparing, the dinner table, getting all the plates out and stuff and setting it. And then the food gets laid down by my family that brought food, and we start eating. And the whole time, my family keeps asking me, where's your dad? Where's your dad? And I didn't want to blow his cover, so I just kept saying, like, he doesn't feel good. He's just, a little out of it. And then finally, my dad comes out, like, 20 minutes later, like, while we're having dinner, and just tells everyone, like, sorry, I microdosed a little bit too much. And the whole table bursted out laughing, including me, I can't lie, because the whole time I had a smile from ear to ear thinking, not only was this one of the funniest moments, but also one of the best stories that's ever going to land on my channel. Anyway, after this, we had a wonderful Christmas dinner with the family and enjoyed the rest of our night. And my dad learned to microdose a little bit more, micro level and not so whatever he did that night. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.